How's it going, fellow culturalists? It's your boy CJ Williams for Culturalist Theory, and this week we'll be ranking the catalog of Golden State icon Xzibit. Whether you know him for hosting MTV's popular Pimp My Ride, acting roles in films like Derailed and The X-Files, or his extensive discography, Xzibit has been a mainstay in hip-hop for nearly 30 years. Through 7 full-length releases and noteworthy guest features, Xzibit has gone from underground sensation to a bona fide star, and arguably earning a spot on Cali's Mount Rushmore. Yo, a quick disclaimer before we get started. For this ranking, we will only be counting the 7 solo LPs, so his work with Be Real and DJ Muggs as a member of the Serial Killers won't be found here. As always, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section to keep the conversation going. Now with that out of the way, let's go. Number 7, Napalm. Tenured in the game with a foothold in both hip-hop and Hollywood, Xzibit returned to his mic-shattering roots with Napalm, his first full-length release of new material since 06 Full Circle. His latest arrived in stores on October 9th, 2012, and reaffirmed his ungodly pen game and iconic presence. Napalm is an explosive return to form and proudly echoes what fans have come to expect and love from Mr. X to the Z, entertaining gangster boast, thoughtful views on social injustice, and honest self-examination spit in a convincing fashion over banging instrumentals. Perturbed by the influx of style-jacking clout chasers dictating the culture, he begrudgingly states on the opening voiceover, if you want to get things done, you gotta do it yourself, and gets right to it on the ensuing track, the booming apocalyptic state of hip-hop versus Xzibit. You can hear the contempt and disbelief in his gravelly voice as he derides the competition and details his survival of the fittest manifesto. Xzibit gives solid pointers to prospective rappers on the grind and recounts his chaotic upbringing over ponderous drums and intermittent synths on the Rick Rock produced Everything. On Something More with Queen's HNIC Prodigy and the riotous Spread It Out, X reinforces the notion of aging gracefully, reveling in his elder statesmanship and the priceless jewels acquired through the journey. It's obvious that time away from the studio or mingling with Hollywood's elite hasn't weakened Xzibit's robust vocals or verbal pedigree whatsoever, as the fearless conviction and grind forever attitude still permeates in his bars. Louis XIII is as potent as the liquor it's named after. The long-awaited reunion of Liquid Crew paired with a monstrous Dr. Dre beat makes for upper echelon music. Their free-spirited and zany dynamic is on full display throughout, ignoring conventional song structure as X, J-Ro, Tash, E Swift, and King T forgo a chorus and allow verses back and forth for the entire instrumental. While Napalm is a worthy addition to his impressive track record, several songs miss the mark, chief among them Enjoy the Night. Crunk maestro David Banner is generally a lock for sonic excellency, but the bombastic synths, chopped doo-wop vocals, and a lackadaisical hook completely drown out any redeemable rapping by Xzibit. All in all, Napalm is a solid outing that confirms Xzibit can still rap with the best, adapting to contemporary trends without diluting the quality of his creative output. Number 6, Weapons of Mass Destruction. By the release of his 5th album, Xzibit was officially a household name, appearing in commercials for Right Guard and reviving reality television on MTV while continuing to drop dope music. Weapons of Mass Destruction arrived to close out 04 on December 14th. The project sold relatively well, amassing 500,000 in sales and going gold in less than 3 months after hitting store shelves, bolstered by the ubiquitous lead single Hey Now, co-starring Carrie Hilson and Timbaland. War and armed conflict are central themes of the album, alluded to by Xzibit's frequent declarations of being a soldier. It's not the first time he sympathized with the plight of the frontline trooper and the impossible decisions they are forced to make in the theater of war, liking it to life in the streets. Whether referencing the Semper Fidelis motto on Criminal Set or recounting his father's time as a Marine, it's clear he views the restoration of hip-hop with the same steely-eyed determination of a soldier on a critical mission. The thunderous rock and G-funk hybrid LAX mandates that Xzibit come out the gate swinging, and he does so emphatically, belittling weak-willed rappers with laughable delusions of outshining him on the mic. Cold War tells 3 separate stories depicting a woman's failed attempts to stay sober and financial woes, a young man immersed in the street life, and a foreign soldier forced to defend his country from the US Army. Production is pulled from an enviable committee of beatmakers, from noted OG architects of the classic West Coast sounds like Sir Jinx, Battle Cat, and Jelly Roll, to frequent collaborators DJ Khalil and Rick Rock. The album's sonic profile is heavily G-Funk influenced and fits his commanding baritone and ruthless narratives to a T. Tough Guy features the Dungeon Dragon Busta Rhymes, whose frenetic ad-libs and menacing energy makes the track sound like a grim funeral procession and match well with Xzibit's machine gun delivery. As to be expected with a project of this length, some songs fall into the filler category, namely Saturday and Motherfucker. Even with these minor hiccups, Weapons of Mass Destruction is a stellar continuance of the Xzibit brand, revealing an artist dedicated to the grind of improving his craft, speaking on universal issues, and putting his unique spin on trends of the period, while continuing to separate himself from an army of bland, cookie-cutter MCs with consistent quality. Number 5, Full Circle. Opting to go the indie route in lieu of major label qualms, Xzibit released his 6th album on October 17, 2006 in a joint venture between his Open Bar imprint and renowned indie distributor Koch Records. Predictably, due to the reduced promotional budget and radio influence that comes with going independent, the project sold far less than his previous gold-selling efforts, only moving 17,000 units its first week. Commercial disappointment aside, Full Circle is for the fans, die-hard and newly minted the same, uncompromising, high-level West Coast gangster music with an insightful and often hilarious edge. Unfiltered and unrelenting, pairing hardened street narratives with raunchy and carefree lyrics on getting lit and chasing beautiful women. Invade My Space starts the record and is a certified trunk rattler, while Say It To My Face is a convincing threat to anyone hoping to catch him slipping. Never contrived, Xzibit attacks every song as if it's his very first recording, except with the polish of an established act. Xzibit has never been infatuated with glamorizing the gangster rap lifestyle, rather using the popular subgenre as a springboard to address social issues and personal experiences tied to the circumstances that create criminals. Rampart Division is a bold conceptual track portraying the unjust abuses that law enforcement inflict upon Black and brown residents of LA. The pioneering DJ Quick crafts convincing theme music for corrupt cops, stacking a pounding piano riff, menacing "I'm the police" quips, whirring helicopter blades and sirens. He draws eye-opening parallels between the LAPD and gangs and how they terrorize and exploit certain communities. He does so by mentioning actual events like the Abner Louima incident and using his verses to personify the depraved thoughts of corrupt police officers. Thank You is a sincere shout out to the fans that have stuck with him from day one in a moving show of humility that is rarely seen in the subgenre. Full Circle contains some of Xzibit's strongest songwriting as it pertains to concept execution and hook construction. There is no obvious filler either, as each track stands on its own, and some, like Family Ties, Rampart Division, and Thank You, can even be considered among his best. At this point in his career, X is at peace with himself, secure in the knowledge of being considered an irreplaceable part of hip-hop lore, and Full Circle is a fantastic manifestation of this sentiment. Number 4, Man vs. Machine. In this widely anticipated follow-up to Restless, Mr. X kept his approach relatively the same, tapping into a familiar list of musical partners while venturing toward a more futuristic sound. The album further boosted Xzibit's crossover appeal as he rode the wave of popularity garnered from going platinum, performing on the legendary Up in Smoke tour, and cementing his place among the region's top dogs like Dre, Snoop, and Ice Cube. It was also a hit on the sales charts, moving 136,000 in its first week, eventually going gold. Production is handled by a bevy of notable hitmakers. Soul seamster Bink helms the powerful harmonica-laced The Gambler. Rick Rock brings his digitized bounce to the holiday theme Symphony in X Major and Break Yourself. Ty-Fi concocts a sonic background on BK to LA for a long-awaited lyrical showdown between the X-Man and Brownsville residential hardcore reps MOP. His evolved technique is evident on lead single Multiply featuring the incomparable Nate Dogg, where Xzibit uses an off-kilter flow to match the erratic hodgepodge medley. Dr. Dre's fingerprints are all over the project. He produces 2 records, receiving mixing credits on 7, and is listed as the executive producer. The first of these offerings, Choke Me, Spank Me, is an interesting inclusion to say the least. Ignoring the pause-worthy title, the song benefits from a gothic beat with thunderous bass, but the ominous, pulsating instrumental sounds more attuned to sliding on your ops than engaging in a steamy sexual encounter. The hook and lyrics are incredibly graphic with moans and screams for added effect. It's hard to picture a moment where playing this song is appropriate. On the other hand, Losing Your Mind is hallmark Dre with a sinister piano riff and thunderous drums to amplify the aggression as Snoop rides shotgun, egging Xzibit on. Say My Name sees Xzibit collaborating with Slim Shady in a tag team attack on Moby, Cannabis, and Jermaine Dupri. The latter earned the ire of Aftermath Records after boasting to XXL that he was a better producer than Dre. Missing You is a touching dedication to his mother, which hits added impact considering he lost her at the age of 9. In many ways, Man vs. Machine mirrors its predecessor, top-notch production, outstanding execution from an enthused Xzibit at the peak of his popularity and lyrical presence. While not quite at the level of the forthcoming entries, Man vs. Machine is worth a heavy rotation on anyone's preferred playlist. Not bad for the final album released under Loud before it went defunct in '02. Number 3, at the Speed of Life. After showing out on a string of buzzworthy features from the Alcoholics' Hit and Run and King T's Freestyle Ghetto, Xzibit set the underground scene ablaze with the single Paparazzi, with his unique combo of cocksure wit, unflinching bravado, and old school value. He parlayed the notoriety into a deal with Loud Records, and he dropped his debut at the Speed of Life in October of '96. For a relative upstart, Xzibit came into the game well developed, boasting a skill set and poise typically reserved for veteran rhyme spitters. The record performed admirably for a first-timer, peaking at 74 on the Billboard 200 and 22 on the top R&B and hip-hop albums chart. As the second official opener at the Speed of Life kicks in, several things about Xzibit become clear. His raw and evocative raps, his refusal to dumb down for the masses, and his perpetual affinity for the underdog. The self-proclaimed Black John McClane tears through the dark and stormy Eyes May Shine and goes toe-to-toe with mentor and Liquid Nation founder King T on Positively Negative with flagrant bars like,
"Ladies and gentlemen, undivided attention, Xzibit get you open like Nicole Brown Simpson."
The haunting operatic lead single Paparazzi broke new ground by fusing classical music with hardcore hip-hop. The song is a call to arms for purists, with Xzibit questioning the legitimacy of rappers who are enamored with fame, preoccupied with living beyond their means, and fronting for the camera, instead of upholding artistic integrity. It also found popularity in circles outside the culture, ending up on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 soundtrack. At the Speed of Life captures Xzibit at his rawest, and thus it shows some signs of a freshman effort, aimless skits and unused instrumentals that lose relevance after one listen, and amateurish bars when the topic veers into unfamiliar territory, such as interacting with women in a respectful fashion. Hit and Run is one such example, and perhaps the only missteps in an otherwise impactful debut. When comparing At the Speed of Life to his touted discography, it's the inclusion of Paparazzi and The Foundation that separate this album from previous entries. Their impact cannot be overstated, as both contributed to the formation of his artistic image and marketability. These were the songs that revealed a richly motivated artist with an anti-establishment agenda, something far removed from the stereotypical image of the low-riding, gun-toting gangbanger, and clued audiences to his star potential. Number 2, 40 Days and 40 Nights. The sophomore album is always a tricky prospect. The ultimate proving ground for an artist looking to pursue a lengthy, prosperous career, a virtual rite of passage that separates authentic creators from one-hit wonders. Whether burdened with commercial obligations or lack thereof, the artist is expected to top their introductory effort while courting a larger audience. Tapped for greatness by a clamoring fan base, cosigns from California titans like Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre, and emboldened by 2 years of touring and honing his craft, Xzibit upped the ante with 40 Days and 40 Nights, a seasoned effort that built upon his debut with tighter lyrics, a deeper bag of flows, and improvisation. The album spawned 4 singles in What You See Is What You Get, Los Angeles Times, Pussy Pop, and 3-Card Molly that resulted in some of the highest chart placements of his career and opened the door to a fruitful partnership with the mighty Aftermath Records. After an inconsequential opening interlude, Mr. X to the Z gets back to business with chamber music, a brisk but potent intro that showcases his liquidated flow and newfound perspective with lines like,
"Clarify, you don't work, you don't eat. I repeat, you don't eat, you get weak. Catch a fragile physique, accomplish more one day, and you can do it in a week."
The eerie flute and clashing hi-hats sound like a page right out of the Wu-Tang playbook. The aforementioned 3-Card Molly pits him against Saphir and Raz Kaz, 2 lethal MCs in their own right. With a chorus that warns to pull your spine through your mouth and watch your body drop, you know their sole objective is to eat MCs. Xzibit has always possessed a fiery microphone presence and a flair for visceral storytelling, containing nuggets of hard-earned wisdom, like Black Air Force One energy poster child Little Fame and Billy Danze of MOP, or the fatherless style of ODB. Xzibit is an MC that raps with the totality of his being. His powerful sandpaper growl is an instrument itself with a variable flow that can adapt to whatever the beat requires. For thought-stirring, socially conscious commentary, check out lead single What You See Is What You Get and the Buddha-produced Deep. For mindless entertainment and dirty Mac and instructions, cue Pussy Pop with Method Man and J.O. Felony, or the psychedelic shenanigans on shrooms. There's no shortage of classic material here, and the album ranks high among fans for good reason. If not for the tremendous quality, influence, and staying power of the next album, 40 Days and 40 Nights would easily claim the #1 spot. Number 1, Restless. Restless. Riding high off the hype generated by showing out on Eminem's Marshall Mathers LP and Dr. Dre's 2001, everyone's favorite alcoholic hit the lab and returned with a modern G-Funk classic in 2001's platinum-selling Restless. Frustrated with waning label involvement and contractual disputes with Loud Records CEO Steve Rifkin, Xzibit leveraged his ties with the godfather of G-Funk, who jumped on as executive producer and helped to solidify his claim for consideration among Cali's creme de la creme. Restless is undoubtedly Xzibit's strongest project to date. 2 decades after its release, the album still sounds fresh thanks to outstanding production and sound engineering, inspired, quote-worthy performances from the rugged host and his co-stars. X recruited a dream team roster of producers from both coasts to execute his musical vision for Restless. The good old doctor cooks up trademark piano stabs and concrete shattering drums for hit single X, a rowdy toast to success featuring the Dogfather. Dre also produces Best of Things and pulls double duties on the thumping You Know, manning the hook and dropping a scintillating 16. Bass specialist Battle Cat comes through with Loud and Clear, and the ultra smooth Been a Long Time. Nate Dogg blesses the chorus with his thugged out version of Seal's Fly Like an Eagle, as Xzibit menacingly growls, "I'm the cat you pull a weapon on and want to squeeze till my life is gone." The green-eyed bandit Eric Sermon orchestrates the expected Liquidation Crew cameo on Alcoholic, a functified ode to getting wasted, and Double Time, which outlines Xzibit's master plan to outwork the grind of getting on and sternly advises listeners to get up off their asses and get to work on their own dreams. Restless knocks from top to bottom, bolstered by the best production of his career. Unadulterated gangster rap mixed with introspective life lessons and the occasional drunken weed-influenced hijinks. The combination of bombastic G-Funk and traditional boom bap is a winning recipe, and the featured guests all bring their A-games. The album deftly merges Xzibit's raw underground appeal and rising mainstream persona, contains innumerable smash hits, and notable tweaks to evolve the culture-shifting sound that brought NWA and Death Row to prominence in the 90s. Yo, that does it for our list. We hope you enjoyed it. Let us know what's your favorite Xzibit album and share your thoughts below. As always, it's your man CJ Williams for Culturalist Theory. Appreciate you tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.